In our somewhat sun-starved part of the world, we don't find plants that have to contend with the often very high temperatures or prolonged periods of drought that plants in warmer parts of the world have to contend with. Conditions that gave rise to families such as the cacti, for example, where parts of the plant, the stems usually, have been highly modified to act as organs for the storage and conservation of water. But here in Ireland we do have some plants that may have to endure long periods of drought during our summers. And the best example is the stonecrops, which belong to the genus Sedum, which is a group of about 280 species, 55 of them in Europe. And here in Ireland we have about half a dozen, only 2 of which are anyway common. Biting stonecrop, which has yellow flowers, and white stonecrop. And where you're most likely to come across them, in fact, is here, where they often grow prolifically on the gravel on graves. Another perhaps surprising dimension to the often rich biodiversity of old cemeteries. Here is biting stonecrop, whose bright yellow flowers were to be seen earlier in the summer. And this is white stonecrop, which is at its best in June and July and is now coming to the end of its flowering season. The succulent leaves of both species are almost globular, miniature water bottles in effect. Where conditions are moist enough, they are green. But when they are drought stressed, they develop a red pigment which acts as a sunscreen. And notice the typically densely crowded leaves and the matted, hunkered down habit which is supposed to be responsible for the name of the genus Sedum, from the Latin word sedeo, which means to squat. The flowers are relatively simple in structure. There are 5 rather fleshy sepals, pale green in colour, united at the base to form a shallow cup. There are 5 white petals, 10 stamens in 2 rows of 5, which have purple anthers in the bud that turn black after dehiscence. The flowers are strongly protandrous, the stamens maturing before the carpels. The 5 outer stamens, the ones in front of the sepals, first to mature and present their pollen, then bending out of the way as the 5 inner stamens take their place. The 5 white carpels at the centre of the flower look rather like a bunch of garlic cloves. This very pronounced protandry almost ensures cross-pollination. But in the unlikely event that no insects turn up, self-pollination can occur. Nectar is abundantly secreted by 5 bright yellow, tongue-shaped nectaries situated in front of the 5 stamens opposite the petals, and the nectar gathers in the calyx cup, where it is easily accessed by a wide variety of insects with short tongues: beetles, flies, bees, wasps, and butterflies. These red-tailed bumblebees are regular visitors here at this late July time of year, and are clearly very familiar with the flowers and know how to harvest their store of nectar with minimal delay. But storing water in those miniature water barrel leaves is not the only way in which stonecrops manage to thrive in such water-challenged conditions. They also have another quite extraordinary metabolic trick up their leafy sleeves. Plants absorb carbon dioxide for photosynthesis through specialized tiny mouth-like openings on the leaves, usually on the underside. And these are absolutely miniature openings. There might be an average of something like 500 of them to every square millimetre of leaf surface. So they absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere through these stomata, as the little openings are called. But they also lose water through the stomata. They transpire through these little openings. So what the stonecrops and their relatives have done is that they close the stomata during the day and they only open them at night time when it's coolest and the loss of water is at its least. But the problem with this, of course, is the plants can't utilize carbon dioxide at night because sunlight is essential for the process of photosynthesis. So what they have done, the stonecrops and their relatives, is that they transform the carbon dioxide that they take in at night into a 4-carbon substance called malic acid, and this is retained in the leaves. And then when the sun comes out in the morning, the malic acid is changed back into carbon dioxide and transported to the chloroplasts where photosynthesis takes place. So if you think something rather awesome and extraordinary took place in the cemetery after dark, you are dead right.